morning everybody. This little tutorial is going to be on something that a few of you have asked, which is making sure that your lash is angled correctly when you place it onto the natural lash. So this is my little prop that my dad has made a couple of months ago to assist me, and I use this because if I was to show you this on a real person, you're never going to see exactly what I'm doing. So obviously if I enlarge it with the use of these props, then it's going to help you realise what the technique is that you need to use to make sure that you get it properly, I suppose. So a lot of you are complaining that your bases, so if this is the extension, these are the natural lashes, your bases are not attached and you're struggling to get the lash onto the natural lash at the correct angle. And this is how you need to start training yourself to recognise the type of natural lash that you've got in front of you and the way in which you adjust your hand angle to suit the way in which you attach the extension. So my fingers are actually going to represent my tweezers holding onto my natural lash, and you're going to have so this is the extension. You're going to have natural lashes that either are flat down, they're going to curl right up back towards you, they're going to be straight lashes. You're going to get all different types, so you must need to learn how to assess the lashes you've got in front of you and adjust your angle. So for example, what we need to be focusing on is when we come in with our extension, we have to match the angle that the natural lash is sitting at, okay? So if this lash was actually to sit out straight like this, if we come in like this, well, you can see that this isn't going to work, okay, because we now have got such a minimal contact point on the bottom that it isn't going to work. I also see people come in with their hand angle like this, so they're trying to come underneath the lashes, and again you can see that this isn't going to work. If I was to come in with my hand angle like this is actually pretty perfect because it's kind of just laid on top. However, what we need to make sure is that the base of the extension is attached to the base of the natural lash. This is the bonding area that we need to make sure is attached. We don't care what this bit is doing here, okay? As long as this bit here is anchored, that is going to mean that our retention is going to be absolutely fine. What you sometimes find that if people are coming in at the wrong angle and coming in with their extension like this, they place in the middle and then it looks like it's attached, but actually you've probably got a tiny little gap on the base here where there is no attachment. Within like a couple of days, these bases will start coming unstuck completely and the whole lash will come off. This is where it's also important that you make sure that your glue dipping is correct, so we only want to be dipping sort of up to about a third of the way up maximum. If we run our glue all the way up the top to the sort of this sort of just above halfway of our lash, what happens when you go to place the lash on is the middle will grab first of all, and then the end bit or the base will be the last to attach. And actually this has now started to dry, so when it looks like it's bonded, actually this is dry glue here that hasn't bonded properly. You've got a great bond in the middle but a very, very poor bond at the base. So actually that's not going to be good retention. So all you need to focus on is that your hand with your tweezers is coming in at the correct angle to match the natural lash, and that you're laying the base on, so concentrate on getting those bases on first of all, and then actually the rest of the lash will follow. If you don't get that base on, it won't work. This is also important where you need to have your glue dipping just correct, so you've got exactly the right amount of glue on your extension. When you do this properly and you go to put the natural lash, so the extension onto the natural lash, it will actually just grab and suck it in. It's almost like a magnet, and it's not something that I can train you to do. It's something that you have to do it yourself, and then suddenly you realise, that is how it works. You get the right amount of glue on there, come in at the right angle, placing the base first, and it will just grab and pull it on, and that means that you're not doing the work. So many times I see sort of ladies on my courses, they're forcing the lash on, or they're sort of working with the way in which they're positioned, trying to sort of stab it on the natural lash. Actually no, the glue will do the work for you. So if you actually just sort of hover it near within the correct position, then you'll find that actually it will just pull itself onto there, and you can just let go and it will actually suck it on in the direction that you want it to go. So start training yourself to learn the correct position to have your hand in. So it might be a case of you needing to bring your hand towards you to suit the natural lash. It might be a case that if you've got a very, very flat lash you sit on the pad, you need to turn the hand angle like that. Just be mindful that if you do that, you can see what the base of the natural lashes of the extension is doing. It's pointing up towards the air. So you're going to risk leaving this base exposed. So by turning your hand slightly, You're just going to come in and place it down. And there is an analogy I use to my students, which I kind of made up because I wanted to sort of try and make people realise how it's got to go on. Imagine that your natural lash is an egg, okay? It's so, so delicate. We don't want to crush it, we just want to touch it gently. And imagine that your extension is a helicopter, okay? And helicopters have to land at the perfect angle in order to land on the ground properly. If they land with their tail down or with their nose down, then they're going to crash, okay? But in order to land our helicopter on our egg, we've got to come down absolute perfection, and we've actually just got to touch gently. If we come down too quick, we're going to whack the natural lash out of the way. If we come down too softly, obviously we're not going to make any contact with the egg, but land that helicopter completely in the right position to land gently on the egg, and that is the pressure, and then everything will do the work for you. You probably think I'm completely mad, but it kind of seems to work with my ladies that come on my courses. So give that a go. Just remember about your hand angles and learning to assess the natural lash that you've got in front of you as to how you make the placement onto the natural lash. Just making sure that always it is your base that is attached first of all, because that is the only bit that technically needs to be attached on the lash extensions.